land 3 commitments two yesterday, and 1 this morning. So let's get into San Diego State offensive tackle Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson, who announced that he is going to be joining the Florida Gators from San Diego State University. He does have 2 years left to play. Over the course of his 3 years at San Diego State, started 20 consecutive games, 37 games overall, played both right tackle and left tackle, started all 14 games this season at right tackle. I believe he only had 9 quarterback hurries on the year and just 1 sack allowed. So, again, gentlemen, Gators needed definitely some offensive line help. It's probably not done or satiated the Gator Nation yet, but 6'6", 310 pounds. Gentlemen, your thoughts on Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson?
Immediate. He's played right tackle and left tackle. I think an immediate help to the offensive line, 3 years of experience. Spoke to him in person on Sunday, and I think the family atmosphere, he kept talking about that, said that was important to him. And then the second for him, I think, was the chance to play in the SEC. Not sure if this was his only SEC offer, but he was excited to get an opportunity to play in the SEC against guys who are proven and guys that will go to the league. You said he has 2 years to play. I think he has 2 years to play 1. He's coming here with the intention of playing well, staying healthy, and hopefully getting drafted after 24.
Well, wouldn't he have 2 years just because of that COVID year?
Yes.
3? Yeah. So
I guess he'd have 3 years to play. I'm ready for the COVID years to be done, to be honest with you.
They'll never end.
Feels like they've been going on forever. Like the way he moves. We're showing his film right here. If you're watching it on YouTube and not on Apple or Spotify, we're playing a little of his huddle film. I like his mobility and him being able to like get up to the second level and put a hat on, on linebackers and whatever. But I think it's a great improvement, and you get to push Damian George inside, who was abysmal outside. I don't know if he plays right tackle or left tackle. I know we also reached out to a former Gator that transferred last year as well. So upgrades has got to happen in the offensive line for these guys to have a chance at keeping their jobs. Just a position of need. The streets was getting crazy over the weekend, saying that Billy was looking for a buyout. And the other SEC team that was in the works for this kid was Mississippi State. I have no complaints. I think it's a good get. Athletic tackle. Am I lagging? Athletic tackle that could get to the second level, could play right or left tackle. Just give us some flexibility with the tackle position.
Yeah, no, a little bit of a lag there, but no, you're exactly right. So again, the Gators desperately need help, on the offensive line. The ability to go get good offensive linemen is very, very hard in the transfer portal. There's not a lot of available talent out there. I think when you look at the talent that's available, I think he's the 101st ranked player overall in the 247 rankings of transfer portal folks. But, there's a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of wide receivers, running backs that are going to take up a bulk of that. So getting a guy like him is a big improvement. The Gators desperately need help on the offensive line. The tackle spot was rough this year. The guard spot, you probably had a couple guys playing out of position as well. So Gators probably only had true 8 maybe offensive linemen. And I think a lot of Gator fans would probably disagree that there was even 8 available. So being able to go get a guy like him is huge for, building up what that team should look like going into next year. So you knew you needed help on the offensive line. You go and get Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson from San Diego State.
We struggle so much with just screen blocking. When we try to run screens, our offensive linemen getting in space, having to block defensive backs or linebackers, they struggle. This guy seemingly does well at both of those things, getting to the second level, being able to be athletic and blocking space. We're just missing athletic offensive linemen, and he brings that to the table.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus has him ranked as the 94th best tackle in the country this last year. His grade was a 71.8 this year. So he ranked 94th out of 626 tackles in the FBS last year. The year before, he was 85th out of 610. So
I think his PFF passing grade is pretty good. Pass blocking grade, sorry.
Yes, his pass blocking grade is an 80. He ranked 70th out of 590. And then on run blocking, he was 143rd. So a big gap there. So he was an 80 for run block and a 66.8 on run pass block 80. Sorry, run block 66.8. So pretty large difference there, but not as big of a difference as I might have thought when it came to overall ranking out of that group.
Yeah, you're gonna need depth. I think he is a guy that can start, but also it just gives you another. When I say depth, it's not just like, hey, you got a bunch of freshmen who aren't going to be ready to play, so you have depth, like available depth. So there's two difference. I think a massive difference in having roster number depth and actual ready to play on Saturday depth.
Yeah, 663 offensive line snaps this year.
That's a ton.
That's a ton of offensive line snaps. So, again, a great player, 6'6", 310 pounds, comes over from San Diego State. And I know San Diego State's not I think that they fired their coach this year. Brady Hoke was their coach. But a lot of good players have come out of San Diego State over the last few years. So hopefully Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson can fit right into this team. The Gators desperately needed help. You lose Kingsley Aguakin, a couple of other transfer portal players out of there. And then certainly you want a little bit more out of Damian George. And then just overall the offensive line as a whole desperately needs some additional folks. So whether he's a starter or whether he's a backup that plays a ton, the Gators desperately needed that help. So they go and grab Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson out of the transfer portal. Any thoughts on him? Go ahead,
Nick. How many? We were speaking of death. Shout out to the deaf. Cornelius Cromartie loves the way I say deaf and deaf. Whatever. How many pieces do you think we need at offensive line additions? We got 2 transfer portal windows between now and the spring one. How many do you think we need to get adequate depth for the fall?
So Brandon was hosted by Jake Slaughter, who's back, and Austin Barber, who a couple shows ago I said, hey, listen, this might be a kid who tests the NFL. He, according to Brandon, Austin Barber is coming back. So that's 2 tackles. If you can get another one, you'd like to have 4 tackles that you think can start and play? Obviously, it'll be interesting to see where Cam Waits plays. Do you want to slide him inside and keep him at guard? Do you want to slide him back outside to tackle? I look at Brandon and Austin as being your starting tackles, whether they're left or right. So you'd want 2 more of those. You get Jake Slaughter back. That kind of handles a guard spot. I don't know what Mike Mazuka's doing. I heard he was going to try to test the NFL waters. You got a little less than a month till January 15th. So like the depth there is good because I think Najee Harris will be ready to play and contribute. Obviously Cam Waits already mentioned, Mike Mazuka, if he stays, Rod Kearney's another guy. So like they're kind of there. But if you get a guy who has 600 snaps, you would take him. So like the numbers are okay. You'll be fine if these are just the numbers. But if you can get a guy who can come into play and you think can challenge for a starting spot, you can take 1, 2 more.
So if you there's an offer that went out to Michael Tarquin, former Gator offensive lineman that transferred to USC. Sorry. Do you go get him? Because we look like we're kind of solidified with possibly starters at tackle spots. Is that a guy you still try to pursue heavily, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think the reason why, so like Tarquin got hurt, Austin Barber looked really good, and then they kind of split time. So I think there's so many narratives like, oh, he stunk, so Florida told him to leave. That wasn't the case. Clearly not the case because they offered him again. I think he had a better. I think he had a better opportunity NIL wise. I think USC was throwing a bunch of money at people NIL wise because they viewed it as we have 1 year Caleb Williams. let's make a run at a national championship. And then he got benched, I think, towards the end of the year at SC. So he's looking for a place to play. Now, he's from Central Florida. Is it appealing to come back home? Or do you look and think, all right, well, I already had the split time with Austin Barber. Now there's another guy in here. Is there somewhere else that will just tell me, hey, you're going to be our starting right tackle. You're going to be our starting left tackle. So that'll be interesting to me. He also just got married, I think, right before last football season. So it's not going to be just a him decision. He's making family decisions now.
Already. Yeah, you got to bring him in. Shout out to my man Reese Collier in the comments. Competition is just always good. So we could get him in. If it's up to us, like I definitely think you pursue him. We'll see if we can, land him and get him back into the fold. But definitely would take him back. I don't know. The people like, oh, he left. Like, what are we doing? We're weak. Nah, bro. This is a different era. You go get talent. You put talented guys on your roster, bro. Because when people get injured, the attrition is gonna happen. And if you don't have guys in the trenches to be able to fill in, that's what made Georgia a lot better than Georgia. The Bamas is there's no fall off when they have a starter go out. If you have a starter go out and then you got true freshmen or redshirt freshmen you're trying to throw out there in the fire that's not ready, then you get what we had this past fall.
Yeah, we always say the difference between championship teams is not just their ability to stack talent as starters. It's their ability to have that depth behind them that when a player does go out there, there's not a huge gap between player A and player B. And obviously we saw that there's a huge difference between player A and player B for the Florida Gators this year. So again, a welcome addition. And, certainly, the Gators have an opportunity for him to come in and play a lot of snaps, whether that's as a starter or whether that's as a serviceable backup at both right and left tackle. Obviously a ton of experience doing both. So those are the kind of things that you look for out of these players. So that's a great get for the Florida Gators. He visited this weekend, committed right after his visit to the Florida Gators. The next commitment that the Gators got was not too much later after. It was Joey Slackman. He is the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year from the University of Pennsylvania. He was the University of Pennsylvania's first Defensive Player of the Year since 2015. He had 50 total tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, has 1 year of eligibility remaining at the University of Florida. He left campus last week, and there was a lot of concern amongst Gator Nation about whether he would ultimately make that commitment to the University of Florida. He does. He takes a couple more visits during the course of this week and then does circle around. Nick, you're going to have to put yourself on mute.
Yeah, got the sniffles.
Buddy's snuffleupagus over there. He ultimately comes back, commits to the University of Florida, and a very welcome addition to that interior defensive line. So, Silk, what are your thoughts on Joey Slackman?
I've been saying we need a defensive tackle with some get off. We got some space eaters with Cam Jackson. What's my big man? Desmond Watson. Caleb Banks. We got space eaters, and I think that's a lot what they want. Like, I think that's the role of the defensive tackle. But when you're trying to pass rush and you're trying to collapse pockets, move the quarterback's lunch position, you need guys that can get off and do some things. I think Slackman fills that role. Great film. I love the film. His education resume is about to be off the charts with that Penn degree and that Gator degree, man. He's about to. If football don't work out, he definitely could go pro in some other things. Sure.
Right? Yeah, it's Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year. I think I had heard that he had a really good visit 2 weekends ago. Still went on some visits, and I think the thought was, and I think we get wrapped up, not just saying pointing finger at fans, but saying even like us, we get wrapped in like, man, like a lot of these kids are going on a visit and shutting it down. And like portal recruitment is way different than high school recruitment. He's going through an injury, just had bicep surgery. So maybe his timeline was a little different. Maybe just a smart kid and wanted to see everything, see all of his options, make his Venn diagrams and positives and negatives. But when he left and didn't shut down the recruitment, I think we thought, here's Florida again, just, bringing kids on campus to give them a free lunch and a free tour, maybe a free pair of Jordans, and then they go and commit somewhere else. So it's a good player, a guy who can, if not start, play starter snaps. And I think we saw how The reps between McClellan, Banks, not less to and less extent Watson, but Cam. I think we saw how they would play like 20 snaps each, 25, 30 snaps each a game, and really split, keep guys fresh throughout the game. So even if he's not a starter, first snap of the game, a guy that will play starter reps.
Position of need, bro. They filling it out. I think you lose Chris McClellan, who was at Colorado this past weekend, checking out Dion. He has a lot of interest, but you definitely elevate the room and the position with bringing that guy in with his experience, leadership. Just like dude can straight up play defensive tackle. He hasn't been playing that long. He's a wrestler and was doing some other things. I think he only been playing. He started playing college football, if I'm not mistaken, as far as a defensive tackle. So it's not a lot of experience there, but just pure brute strength and talent, man, that you just can't teach, and get off is one of those things, bro. We still waiting to see who that defensive line coach, which is impressive. We got a defensive tackle, right? Coach,
we're missing defensive tackle coach. You still have Peterson.
So we're missing defense. Okay.
Yeah.
So being able to get him without a coach is also impressive. That's one of the criticisms that's been coming from the fan base and everybody involved. Like, who do we get in at defensive line coach? Maybe this kid doesn't want to commit because he don't know who's going to be coaching him. But a few days go by, and then we get a hell of a Sunday. So shout out to Billy for addressing a need. He got a lot more work to do, I think, in the portal with bringing some talent in for Graham Mertz and some weapons, but great get at a position of need.
Yeah, no, and I want to give a quick shout out. JP said good morning to be it's a good morning to be a Gator, huh, fellas? No, some of them poison pushers are sick this morning. Go Gators! Thank you, JP, for the super chat.
That picture is wild.
a lot of poison pushing last week, especially after this visit. And I kind of alluded to back in June, the Gators had a bunch of recruits on campus. They didn't land any of them that week, and a lot of Gator Nation was upset. They said, where is this staff's ability to recruit, their ability to close? And then over the course of the next few weeks, I think you got 6 or 7 of those guys that committed. Joey Slackman comes to campus. You maybe try to shut it down. He goes to visit a few other schools. Maybe, Nick was talking Venn diagram, pros, cons. There's other reasons why kids are visiting schools now as well. You can read into that as much as you want. But ultimately, he circles back and joins the University of Florida. So, again, I think he's ranked pretty high on the transfer portal ranking, somewhere in the top 20, top 30. So, On3 has him ranked as the 15th best transfer in the country. So great get for the Florida Gators, and excited to see what he might be able to do. And then finally, we did get one more commitment. Let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at lucy.co. If you are looking for a nicotine kick, if you're looking to relax, if you're looking to vibe out a little bit more, look forward to lucy.co/stadium at checkout. So all sorts of great flavors. This flavor right here is cinnamon. Pretty good flavor.
I didn't get a cinnamon.
Yeah, you did not get a cinnamon. So go check them out. Lucy.co, mint, wintergreen, all the flavors that you can imagine that you've seen out there on the marketplace so far. So again, go check out Lucy.co. I've been a big fan. They started reaching out to us about 5-6 weeks ago. So really a great product to go check out. So again, lucy.co/stadium. As always, important reminder to know that nicotine is an addictive chemical. Everything is age verified at checkout and for the users 18 years or older. So again, lucy.co/stadium. All right. Finally, the Gators landed from Oregon a defensive back named Trikweze Bridges. Sorry, I want to make sure I was pronouncing it right. Trikweze Bridges, 6'3", 198 pounds, originally a 3-star prospect from the class of 2019. He is ranked as the 101st overall player in the 247 transfer portal ranking and the 9th best cornerback in this cycle. So only played 205 snaps this year compared to his 704 from the year before. Obviously looking for an opportunity to make an impact and come to the University of Florida. Is probably going to play more of that star type of corner that Jaden Hill played this year. So gentlemen, your thoughts on Trikweze Bridges?
Like to get originally from Alabama. Went out there with in Oregon, made some plays at the position of cornerback. Do like him at star safety, 6'3" guy, rangy. I think a good get. We'll see how it all plays out. Cornerback's a little bit tricky, but from the film I saw, the competition that you're against, Washington is a playoff team. They were after him pretty heavily. Yep. He took a visit out there and actually committed to us after that visit. So you like to be in competition with undefeated teams that's in the playoffs, but also another good get. Originally, when I seen us going after him and after we landed him, I'm thinking maybe he was a West Coast kid and Will Harris just had some relationships out there. But no, he's actually from Bama. There's some more defensive backs and some more guys that we're going to be going out there in the portal. I would like to know where our numbers is at, like what we got to push out to be able to go to get more aggressive in the portal. We could talk about that afterwards, but a very solid get at another position of need. We struggled at star and safety the last few years. Bringing in an athletic guy like him that has played corner, which I like. I like his tape at corner, wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I think corner's a little bit more tougher, being put on the island, having to cover guys with less amount of help as far as inside help that's coming from linebackers or safety. But he executed well out there. Dan Lanning liked him at corner. We like him at some other spots. So here we go.
Yeah, I like the safety nickel take. Hopefully, I mean, we talked about Jaden Hill, but if Jaden Hill leaves, that's a huge hole at nickel to fill. And unfortunately, this season will no longer go as Jaden Hill goes, as it has for the last quarter century.
Well, it doesn't mean that Jaden Hill's gone, right? And Jordan,
it doesn't.
Shout out to him. Does this mean next season, next year will not go as Jaden Hill goes? Who knows? But if your favorite NFL team drafts him, then your season will go as he goes, which probably is Super Bowl bound. But we don't know where Florida is recruiting him right now. He's played a lot of different positions all over that defensive backfield. He was the highest ranked Oregon player in 2022 on the defensive side of the ball, according to Pro Football Focus. And he was a third team all Pac-12, according to Pro Football Focus, last year in 2012 as well. So again, saw diminished stats in 2023. So hopefully for him, he's looking for an opportunity to make an impact. And we saw that the Gators desperately need some help all over the defensive backfield. So him coming in, and whether he starts, whether he plays a substantial amount, or whether he fills in a depth role, the Gators desperately needed help there. So again, you go and get another player that visited last weekend, takes some time away, goes to visit some other schools, notably Washington for Bridges, comes back, circles around, and the Gators able to grab him. So a lot of the complaining, a lot of the moaning, a lot of the just incessant whining and complaining that's been happening on Twitter over the last couple of weeks, but really over the last week over the transfer portal, seemingly gets a little bit nipped in the bud.
Yeah, I don't know who he got beat out by at Oregon, but clearly Oregon's a better football team than us.
Yeah.
I don't know what I get it. You know what I'm saying? We brought in some
Wish
guys.
We could have got the freshman transfer, but
RJ Moulton came in and just didn't do anything for us. I also wasn't high on his athleticism, but like I said, Washington is a playoff team. They got a good solidified roster, and they after this guy pretty heavily. So you want to be in. We're not in a better position than Washington either. So I like to get competition, just pulls out the best of everybody. I still like my young freshmen that were brought in through the recruiting class last year. Think highly of those guys. Think they're all going to pan out, but you need some older guys to push them too. Nobody should have a layup to a starting spot. Everybody needs to go earn a spot this spring and fall.
Florida and Washington are in kind of in the same boat. Neither of them have a game the rest of the month.
We have a fashion request from my guy, Jeremy Morris.
Yeah, Jeremy, Nick, can you turn your hat around? Nick is flexing that he went to the Masters. So you'll learn one thing about Nick is he's going to flex his Masters attendantship anywhere that he gets. So Chris Sorley says, I don't know how these transfers will launch Florida into a winning season.
We're not getting any transfers.
Bro, Chris Sorley's a broken and beaten man. But before the fall, Chris was in here lying heavier than silk. Just pushing lies.
I think he's on the other side of the coin. I think I'm optimistic fan, and he's more.
I think Chris was optimistic.
Nick's optimistic.
Chris was pumping lies heading into 2023. He just got broken and beaten down. Chris, we need you back.
We need you back, Chris. It's the off season. Maybe it's lying season. This is where we all thrive, right?
And they giving me some work
Swole here said Cam Jackson, Kelby Collins, TJ Searcy, Joey Slackman, LJ McCray. We could have something on the defensive line.
Yeah, on paper, that's a really, really good defensive line. You've got depth, you've got talent.
Yeah.
It's a good defensive line. Hope they get him a coach.
Yep. Yeah. And then Cornelius Cromartie said the Pac-12 passing league, give me any DB out there. So obviously they throw a lot, like you said.
He's physical too. He can tackle a little bit. I like his tackle film.
Pac-2. Yeah. So solid additions there. So gentlemen, anything else you want to talk about of these 3 transfers that the Gators got?
I just need a number breakdown where we at. I want a realistic look at who we can bring in, how many people we could go get in the transfer portal, because we still got a recruiting class to bring in. You got to get that number to 85. You got a spring window. It's a lot of moving parts. I just want to know where we at number wise.
Well, the number is fake. 80, you don't need to be at 85 until fall camp. This staff is fine going over that number. Now, I on our message board, I was like, you can have 100 guys on scholarship. That's that's obvious. Yes, you can. You're gonna have 15 very difficult conversations with people and let it all sort itself out. But the number's fine. If you're not telling a guy no because it might put you at 86.
Good. That was the Will Muschamp way of doing things.
And that's
things have changed.
Things have changed, especially with the transfer portal and the way rosters are so fluid. Yeah. You could have 90 guys on scholarship heading, during spring camp, and you might have 7 guys who look at what happens in spring and go, I'm gonna end up watching this team play from the sideline. Let me go find somewhere else to go. And
if
then
they need me to be the Iceman, I can be the Iceman.
I think a lot of people are doing a great job at telling players that they don't want them on their Gators anymore. I don't know that they need you to jump in for that, Dan.
This is like in an official capacity.
Okay.
Eric Buholtz said, again, we're trusting the numbers here from a very open YouTube chat, right? But I'm going to trust my guy Eric here that said we have 65 on campus right now, probably 19 in the class, 3 from the portal so far.
I trust a guy named Buholtz. Seems like.
And then Gata Don says Jacob Rudner, great guy, reports we're currently at 66 scholarship players with yesterday's pickups and had to add high school recruits.
And so we're going to be over. And that's fine.
And then 3 important graduation announcements: Jaquavion Frazier's, quarterback Miller, and Weston all graduated on Saturday. So congratulations, boys. That UF degree will take you far.
For sure.
Shout out to Eric Buholtz. I wonder if he's connected to the school in Gainesville. Maybe he is. I mean, maybe he's Gator lore, right? Gainesville lore. So that's what we've got there. So again, 3 big transfer pickups: an offensive lineman, a defensive tackle, and a defensive back. All 3 are what the Gators wanted. Let's look at some transfer portal destinations of guys that are currently in the transfer portal from the University of Florida. A lot of them have made their announcements. So let me just pull that up right now. As always, while I pull this up, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it, tell all your friends, tell all your family that this is what you're going to base your Christmas and New Year's conversations off of, are these 3 guys right here. So make sure that they know so they can come prepared with some lies as well. So some announcements. Jordan Herman announced that he's going to be transferring to Charlotte. Kamari Wilson is going to be transferring to Arizona State. Princely Umemelan to Ole Miss. Jonathan Odom to Eastern Michigan. Caleb Douglas, Texas Tech, Max Brown to Charlotte. And that is all of the announcements that we have thus far. So Chris McClellan right now getting some, you got a recruiter prediction machine is what you guys call it out on 3. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Trevor Etienne, Georgia. Will Norman is still taking his visits. Miguel Mitchell still taking his visits. Hopefully he didn't miss the angle on his plane flight. So that's what we've got right now. So those are the names that you can be looking out for.
Nasty with the Georgia stuff, man.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's.
I would like Georgia's DB that entered the transfer portal though. They got
AJ Harris or
yeah. I know we're crying about ETN possibly going there, but this is a new era, and if we get to tone our 8 grab, right, and our Brenton Cox grab from Georgia with the AJ Harris, I wouldn't mind that take. Let's try to grab that if possible. This is just me speaking out loud. I don't know where we at in his recruitment.
Yeah, hopefully
have we reached out, Nick? Have we reached out, Nick? Do you know? We have?
Yeah, I think so. I think Auburn's moving heavy. I think
the hell Auburn got going on? They got that bag out, boy.
I guess
Auburn and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I saw somebody else mentioning Walter Nolan. Like Florida has, I think we have as good of a chance as Walter Nolan being our 4th podcast host.
Well, Walter Nolan's
get that boy a call, man.
Yeah, Ole Miss. It looks like for Walter Nolan. Is that right?
I think Pete Nako's put in a RPM for him. But listen, okay. Ole Miss, clearly they're like, hey, we're getting Jackson Dart back. Let's make some moves. Shout out to the Grove Collective. The Grove Collective has like more than 5,000 members. They've got a ton of corporate sponsorships. Lane Kiffin pumps that out. And they've got a ton of support.
They serious about that shit out there.
Tiny little town. They did. The Grove Collective is one of the best collectives in the entire country.
Yeah.
And it's showing in the transfer portal.
Yeah. And that's and not to diminish that, but in
recruiting classes buns too, though. So
yeah. But in 10
that's the thing. That's the thing too. It's been great to watch people yelling at me and yelling at each other in the comments when all I'm doing is just saying like every day, hey, end of the day, here's the transfer portal numbers. And then that one got like 300, 400,000, the first one, impressions. And then I followed it up right away with also, hey, there's a correlation to your recruiting class and your transfer portal class. You see Florida, Georgia, Alabama at the time when I did the first one hadn't signed anybody in the portal, and these other schools had signed 4, 5, 6. I think Ole Miss is up to 9 now. But like Georgia has the number 1 recruiting class and have nobody signing the transfer portal. I think they're going to get the Vanderbilt wide receiver. But like there's a correlation to what you're doing at the high school ranks and what you're doing in the portal. Ole Miss, I think their signing class is like 20, and that's why they're hitting guys in the portal. They think they can win this year, or will take a run at it in 2024, trying to win the SEC. So you're going to load up on portal guys.
It's interesting to see, and it's a deeper conversation on just where recruiting's heading as far as portal, high school, JUCO, all of that, and also development. Like how much resources do you spend on a high school recruit that may not, like the chances are these guys sticking 3-4 years is slim to none these days. So I'm interested to see how everything kind of transitions as far as portal recruiting. We've seen Florida State make a run at it this past season to try to go. They went undefeated and failed. So shout out to them boys. I appreciate that. But they did make a run. They're looking at a favorable schedule, a solidified quarterback position, just throwing some pieces, some star power at certain spots with Brandon Fisk, Keon Coleman. They brought in some big time portal guys to go undefeated this past year. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of it pans out, especially at the quarterback position. Teams are going to grab 1-year rentals at quarterback spot. Florida State's one of those programs. Lane Kiffin has been heavy in the portal with quarterbacks. Ohio State lost their quarterback McCord to getting, advantageous with trying to bring in a better arm. So like the trend is going towards less development at some of these spots and going and get guys with reps, even at a lower level at like Penn or like Brandon Fisk was at a FCS. They have reps and they can come in and provide some, immediate impact. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out.
And that's the thing. A lot of schools are still building through, and I think the way to build a program is through high school recruiting and supplement through the portal. Now, and people might say, but you're saying that Florida has to get portal guys. They need help. Yeah, like they need guys who can help them right now.
Yeah.
And that might not be through. Yeah, or else that's where I'm coming from with the portal. I think if Billy Napier has 5 years, and I don't know that you get 5 years to be a 500 coach, then I think you're doing it the right way. But I think you need guys like Joey Slackman, like Brandon. I'm not gonna butcher his last name. Like Brandon, guys that can come in and play right away, right now.
Crenshaw-Dickson. Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson.
Crenshaw-Dickson.
Yeah, that was a pretty.
Shout out to his dad. Met his dad yesterday too.
Shout out.
Did he get married? Why did he hyphen his last name?
I don't know. Didn't ask.
Just kidding. It's a joke.
Small J journalism.
Small J journalism. There's another name that I know is popular just because we have 15 minutes before CI comes on. So I want to make sure that we get to him. Speaking of Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson, is his safety teammate, Marcus Ratcliffe, who has been committed to UCLA, but Florida and Texas A&M offered him a scholarship on Sunday. According to On3's Keith Niebuhr, he's been talking to Will Harris, the Gators' new defensive back coach, for a couple of weeks now. He's known him since he was at Washington, Harris, that is. And so he is potentially talking to the Florida Gators about visiting and what days might work, and then talk to his family about it. So 6'2", 184 pounds, 30 tackles, 1 interception as a freshman, would still have 3 years of eligibility. Is the number 11 ranked safety in the On3 transfer portal ranking. So he has a visit planned for UCLA on January 8th. So it might be around that time. But again, the Gators are at least kicking the tires on Marcus Ratcliffe. Silk, I know you're a big fan of Ratcliffe.
Yeah, I like Marcus Ratcliffe. He had a lot of years to play as well. He started as a true freshman out there. Impressive film in the box. Could play some star safety, linebacker. But very athletic guy, and committed to UCLA. If we could get him to come on a visit, we got to work these West Coast ties. His relationships out there, as far as Will Harris, he got to work his relationships on the West Coast. I know there's a John Bosco kid that he's interested in as well from the high school level, Jason Mitchell. We'll see how safety recruiting at the high school level works out, but relationships matter. He don't have a lot of East Coast ties, South ties, so we're going to see some West Coast names that he can probably, move quick on and land that we normally wouldn't land. So we'll see how Will Harris works out. But I do like how aggressive he is. Just because he's committed to UCLA don't mean nothing in the portal. He's not enrolled. So let's get aggressive and try to get that kid here.
What's a commitment?
What is
nothing these days? What's a letter of intent? Like nothing's binding anymore. I mean, now they changed the rules with the second transfer. Like you don't need a waiver for the second transfer, so nothing means nothing anymore.